Hello, everyone, and welcome. My name is Mahara Wayman, and I'm really excited to be interviewing Mary Beth today. We are going to chat about mindfulness. And before I say stuff that I don't know what I'm talking about, I'm going to hand it over to Mary Beth. Thanks for joining me today, Mary Beth.
Thank you. So I'm Mary Beth Fox. I am a licensed professional counselor in the state of Mississippi. And I work with children, adults, couples, lots of different things. So I'm really excited to kind of talk to you a little bit about the mindfulness groups that I have done with pretty young children. It's been really interesting to do and see and know that they have the ability to do things that most of us adults don't know how to do with mindfulness.
Well, I think it is so exciting. And, when you mentioned it to me, I just grabbed onto it because I have kids and I'm wondering what I missed out on if I didn't, because I hadn't practiced this when they were younger. So before we get into this exact idea about what you've done with the children, would you mind telling us how you actually define mindfulness?
Yeah. So to me, it's the practice of allowing yourself to just be in the moment, be present with everything that you're experiencing without judgment, without judging your thoughts or how you're feeling about your body or anything, just letting yourself be right in that moment and accepting yourself as you are.
So why is that so important for us? Because everybody talks about mindfulness. Why is that so important in our lives?
I think there are so many answers to that, but I think it's because societal, cultural, all different kinds of things that we have coming at us teach us who we're supposed to be that maybe don't really align to who our souls are. And so there's this misalignment of we really are isn't acceptable. And so we have to learn how to accept ourselves, not who we're supposed to be according to whatever rules we've, learned or were conditioned for.
Wow, that's powerful. When you were saying that, I just thought of a disconnect. How tragic to live your life disconnected from who you really are because you were caught in the trap of what other people thought you should be.
Yeah.
Hmm. Very, very powerful. So listen, where did this idea come from to teach mindfulness to children?
Yeah. So I think I remember I was in graduate school when I first started thinking about this. And I started realizing how I had my own struggle with meditation or anything connected to mindfulness. And I knew I wanted to work with children. Um, and I started thinking what a different world we would have if children knew how to do this, because there's such a huge presence in the whole world of anxiety and depression. I mean, a lot of mental health issues that I feel like are larger than they've ever been in anybody's lifetime. And if children can learn how to do this, things that I didn't learn as a child, I just feel like the world could be such a better place. And the people in it would learn how to function and show up as they truly are, as opposed to, like I was saying, who they're supposed to be.
In other words, we could have an authentic group of humans doing what they really wanted to do.
Absolutely.
Oh, that's really awesome. Hey, what was their response? What did the kids say when you shared this with them? I'm
Yeah.
curious.
So the first group that I did it with, they were 6, 7, and 8-year olds. And I let them run around wild for a while, playing a game to get all of that out. And I didn't, I just used words that they could understand. And I centered it around nature. So they all knew what a tree was. And they all knew that, if the wind blows really hard, the tree's branches are going to blow. So I talked them into becoming a tree themselves and imagining their roots going deep down into the earth. So giving them this visual and something they were so excited about to, be a little silly, but also like, okay, when she tells me that wind is coming, I'm going to stand so strong and my branches, their arms, aren't going to move. And seeing them be able to get this better and better, and I never did it for more than 2 minutes, the mindfulness exercise with them, adults have difficulties for 2 minutes doing it. But seeing the children and just the pride in them being able to do that. I remember one child specifically said, when I was like, well, how was that? What did you think when you're doing that? And his response was, I wasn't thinking anything. And I was like, wow, this is why I'm doing that. Yeah.
That is really powerful. I wasn't thinking anything. How many of us can ever say that today in
Yeah.
our
Not
lives, right? I
many.
wasn't thinking anything. It's hard to turn off.
It is.
So what did the parents think about this?
Yeah. So for me to do these kinds of groups, parent involvement is incredibly important. I would bring every group I did, I would bring the parents in at the end. And so I would walk them through, and the children would be so proud to show them what we did that day. If they became a tree, if they became, a fish in the ocean, whatever it was for the week, so that the parents knew how to practice that with them. And so I had the parents every time, the children brush their teeth before they go to bed at night. After they brush your teeth, have them become a tree this week. Talk to them about, being that tree, because you want the parents to be able to remind them. Children aren't going to think about that on their own. And it being a fun thing and making it into their routine, and the parents being on board was so important. And the parents that I worked with that did that, it was amazing to me because a lot of them knew nothing about mindfulness. And for them to tell me about the differences that they were seeing in their children's school, them fighting with their siblings, fighting with them, and just overall their children's happiness, and learning how to use the mindfulness when really big emotions were coming up, which is normal for kids.
Who would have thought? Well, you would have thought because this is your idea, but I'm sure the parents never realized the domino effect that this type of exercise would have with their children. I'm curious, did any of the parents relate that other children, other siblings wanted to get in on the action and sort of want to know it,
Yeah.
learn it too?
Yep, absolutely. Those kids felt so empowered in doing that. They kind of took on the role of, I'm the one that teaches my parents and my brother and my sister. And I remember one child, and I want to add that the majority of the kids I've done this with have a lot of really severe trauma. And so it's important for anybody, but especially for those kids, to learn that at that age with such severe trauma. And I remember one little boy who had been through such terrible trauma, just unimaginable things. And for him to have something to have value and be able to share with other family members and his siblings, and to teach them about becoming that tree, being that fish in the ocean, and telling them, when they were really angry about something or had a bad day, of, you need to go to the ocean. What color fish are you going to be today? It's just beautiful to see it. It is.
Well, I love what I'm hearing. Now, out of curiosity, have you checked back in with these children? I don't know how long ago you first started doing this, but is there a follow-up year after year, or every few years, or 6 months or something, just so you can see the progression of this skill?
Yeah, I wish there was, but when I first started it, I was in Texas and I'm in Mississippi now. And the children that I've done it with here in Mississippi, and I plan to do it more down the road and have more groups, but I've only done a couple groups here just because I have my own baby and my own things going on. But the children I've done it with here, sadly, I saw for short amounts of time, maybe 6 months or so, which is fairly short in the therapy world, just because of different things that they were going through, weren't allowed to come back, or they were adopted, or, parents, separated, things like that. But I've always wondered, but I can say I did these kinds of things with my nieces when they were little. And my niece now is almost 19, and she and I were just talking about, do you remember when we did that meditation before your soccer games? And she was like, I forgot. And she's just now turning back to mindfulness. And I remember her saying, just a couple of weeks ago, now I know why I felt like I'd done this before. I forgot that I did that. And so, that's how I am able to see and follow is through my nieces when I did this with them when they were little. Yeah.
Wow. So if you could give us some advice for parents that are listening and watching this show later, how would they go about starting it? If we want to make it really simple,
Yeah.
what is there like a 5-step, 2-step, 3-step that they can do to bring mindfulness into their lives and into the lives of their children?
Yeah. I think the biggest thing is for parents and anybody to understand that mindfulness doesn't mean sitting like this and completely clearing your mind and thinking of nothing. It can be coloring. It can be, asking them to choose their favorite song to listen to while they color and set the timer for 5 minutes for a song, 3 minutes. I wouldn't do beyond five. Um, and, letting them see that just paying attention and relaxing and being with what they are is mindfulness. It's not what so many people, believe it is and don't do it because it's such a struggle. So I would say something like that for parents, or for parents to, say one day a week on Wednesday at 6:10, we all go into our own rooms or our own space. And in 5 minutes, we come back and we tell everybody what I did to just enjoy myself and relax. I think that's some of the things to create those routines without such fear around a parent being able to teach something they were never taught.
Well, you know what? That sounds pretty simple and it sounds very doable. I have really enjoyed chatting with you today. I've learned a lot. It makes me want to go up and hang with my teenagers and say, hey, let's spend a few minutes. Is there anything else that you'd like to share with me about mindfulness, especially as it relates to children?
I think one of the keys might be to let the child create their own word for mindfulness and make it their own, even if it's, I'm going to go have purple elephant time, so that they make it their own and it's special and it's not something that they can't really grasp what the word means to them. I do have an idea for parents that they can do with their children.
Okay.
For those who, have a house or somewhere that they can walk in their home outside, is everybody take their shoes off and walk to the mailbox barefoot. That's a mindfulness activity because you are going to go much more slowly barefoot than you would with shoes on, because it's going to slow you down. You're going to feel the grass, the earth beneath your feet, and it makes you take your mind off, okay, I want to see if I got that check in the mail or whatever it is, to actually slow down and be connected, literally grounding yourself through the ground, through earth.
I love it. Now it's -16 in Alberta where I am, so I'm not doing that here, but I love the idea. And I think
Yeah.
it's really powerful, this idea of grounding yourself and doing something very simple that takes you away from those thoughts and into these thoughts, whatever's happening at your feet.
Yeah.
Yeah, nice. Mary Beth, please let us know how we can contact you. Do you have a Facebook page or a blog that we can connect with you on?
Yes, I do. It's called the Not Good Enough Stuff blog. And it's just www.notgoodenoughstuff.com. You can also find me with that same name on Twitter, YouTube, Pinterest, Facebook, and what's the other? Instagram. And I do offer a lot of parenting blog posts to help you heal your inner child while teaching your own child to not grow up with the deficits that you may have had throughout your childhood.
Fabulous. Well, thank you again. Thanks for sharing your insights and your contact information. Well, Mary Beth, thank you again. I really appreciate your taking the time to reach out to me, first of all, and offer to chat with me. I think this has been a really interesting conversation, and I look forward to maybe doing some more follow-up.
Yes,
Thanks again.
thank you for having me. All right. Thank you.
Everyone, I hope you enjoyed my conversation today, and keep checking back for more updates and more videos and more great conversations. My name is Mahara. Thanks again. Have a great day.